One of the other things I did after my career as a defense attorney is I represented human trafficking survivors in court and have been pretty active in the anti-trafficking space about racial nuance and racial awareness and why it's important in the anti-trafficking space, especially because disproportionately trafficking survivors, victims are people of color, and racism exacerbates trafficking vulnerabilities. And I'm happy to talk about that more if folks are interested. But what really gets me about how impassioned white people become about anti-trafficking efforts is that the cognitive dissonance, the disconnect that they have from understanding how human trafficking has its roots in American chattel slavery in this country is just mind-blowing to me. Human trafficking built this country. Trafficking in human beings, buying them, selling them, raping them, holding them against their will, that's the foundation of this country. That's how the levees in New Orleans got built. That's how roads and bridges in Charleston got built. That's how the railroads in the South got built. That's how the economic wealth and power that empowered and emboldened a bunch of kids, basically. The average age of the founding fathers was 33. A bunch of young people to believe that they could take on one of the biggest empires in the world. It was the hubris that comes with having an obscene amount of wealth built by human trafficking, right? So this country has its roots in human trafficking, and it's human trafficking that was racialized. And until it was branded as a risk to white people, specifically with the Mann Act, the White Slavery Act, after emancipation, where folks who had been involved in the abolitionist movement didn't have anything else to do with their abolitionist inclinations, they took up this cause. And it was weaponized, oddly enough, against people of color. I think the first person to ever be charged under the White Slavery Act was Jack Johnson for taking his wife across state lines, which the law criminalized taking women across state lines for immoral purposes. And it prosecuted Black men, specifically men of color, for their sexual improprieties with white women, right? And so human trafficking was okay until it was branded as a risk to white people. And I want folks to think deeply about how the trafficking in Black folks, who we still don't regard as survivors, right, or victims. We still don't think about folks who lived and survived slavery. When they were freed, they were called freedmen, not victims, not survivors, right, because we don't acknowledge the horrors. So for a nation that refuses to teach the history of human trafficking as it relates to this country, and those same people to be impassioned about human trafficking today just blows my mind, and not understand why calling it, for example, modern day slavery without appreciating how slavery was able to